Hey guys, so this is analysis of the string LCM problem from the Educational Codeforces round 102. So, they're finding a multiplication operation between the string A and a positive integer x, such that the string A is repeated x times. So, ABC multiplied by 2 is equal to ABC, ABC, and A multiplied by 5 is equal to A. And a string A is divisible by another string B if there exists an integer x, such that B could be repeated x times to form A. So, for example, AB is divisible by AB because AB multiplied by 4 is equal to this. But AB is not divisible by this string right here, because multiplying this by any integer value will never get you this string. And same goes for AA. And then, so then they say the LCM of two strings is the shortest non-empty string that is divisible by both S and T. So given two strings, S and T, find the LCM or report that does not exist. And if it exists, it is unique. So, the first line contains Q, which is the number of test cases, and then each test case is the following two lines, which contain strings S and T, and each character is either an A or a B. So, going here. So in the first test case, you have BA versus BA. So solely from this, you can see that this string is repeated twice. And after the second repetition, so adding this right here, this new string is identical to this string. So we know that BA is the LCM of these two strings. And then, so just going on to the next ones, AA versus triple A. So AA exists once here, but there's a spare A right here. So if you were to add AA one more time, or AAA, so do double this string, you can see that it fits perfectly. And so since AA appears 3 times in this one string, and AAA appears twice in this string, you can see that this is the optimal, it's like the LCM for these two strings. And then finally for the last input, AB versus ABA. So again, you can see AB exists once here, but if you were to duplicate the string, it would be ABA. The next two ones aren't equal to, right here, aren't equal to AB. So you know that this one, you have a -1 because there is no string LCM for these two. So how would you solve this? So first you want to test whether or not if you were to add the longest string twice, that this one can still be repeated, because you know there's only 2 variables, A and B. So because there's only 2 variables, you only have to repeat this sequence, the longest one, twice, and test whether or not the first one can exist in that. Because you don't want a situation like this one, where initially it appears that it's equal, but because of the last character, it throws the whole thing off. So that would be the first test. And yeah, so here is a Java representation of it. So first you're reading in the data, getting in the number of test cases, and then for each test case, reading in the two strings, I mean, this part isn't necessary, but I chose to make A2 the shorter string and A1 the longer one, just because it'll be easier for the future parts of this. And then, so, first thing you're testing is if the first substring of A1, which is the longer one, is equal to A2. So, going back here, let's say you have a string A, B, 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 and then the second string is just AA. By making a subset of the longer one, and just comparing initially to the shorter one, you can automatically rule out that there'll be no possible LCM between these two strings, just because of the first two characters. So that's essentially what this is. And then this part is what I mentioned earlier. If this part does pass, it doesn't pass for this situation, but if it does pass, then it would just keep, then it would check the further parts of it. So going back to this example right here, this part right here passed. And then so it checked the later parts of the string by duplicating this string right here, and only taking the first character from this part and the last character from the first part. So after testing these conditions and knowing that an LCM is possible, the next part is identifying what is the LCM. Because if you have two strings, A, so of like 3 and like 6, obviously, just from viewing it, you know that the LCM would just be this part right here, because this can divide into it, and this can also divide into it as well. But if you were to just solely multiply the two sizes together, because that's like the most efficient way of creating multiple, that would create a common multiple, but it would create the LCM. So what you would have to do is to first find the difference between the two cases. So in this case, the difference is 3. And then, so now you have two possible paths from here. If 3 is divisible, it's the length of the remaining portion. Okay. If 6 is divisible by 3, then the value 6 over 3 is how many times you have to multiply the shorter length by. So going back to, let's just say this one right here. Sorry, this one here. The remaining portion is 1, and 3 divided by 1 yields an integer output, and 3 divided by 1 is 3. So we know we have to multiply this portion right here by 3 to get the LCM. But then what if the remaining portion, or the whole string, is not divisible by the remaining portion? So let's say there's an additional A right here. So instead of 3, it's not 4, this is 7. We know 7 is not divisible by 4. So we would go to this test case, this situation right here. Now, we have 3 and 7. So the only way to create an LCM is to multiply the initial string by the length of the second string, which is 7. Because intuitively, if you see 3 and 7, you know the LCM is 21. And that's formed by multiplying each of them by the opposite value. So if you have a 3, you multiply it by 7. And then, yeah, you multiply it by 7. So going back to the code, that's essentially what's happening here. So we obtain the difference in lengths between the two numbers, between two strings. And if the length of the longer one can be divided by the difference, then we know, okay, so this one's asking if it can't be divisible. Then we know we can multiply the shorter string by the length of the longer string. But if the longer string can be divisible by the remaining part right here, then we know that the shorter string only has to be multiplied by the longer string divided by the remainder. And then after we obtain that, we would just have to keep duplicating the output as many times as we determined before, which is C. So essentially, yeah, that's one way of solving this problem, the string LCM.